Hey everybody, welcome to the GMG review. Today we're taking a look at Stormcast Eternals, the latest Warhammer Age of Sigmar Battletome to go up for pre-order today from Games Workshop. Now, Games Workshop kindly sent me this as a free sample to review, and this 183-page rulebook is an update to this big mamma jamma right here, the previous 192-page Stormcast Eternals Battletome. So we're going to kick the tires on this and go through. Now, I have been playing Stormcast Eternals since the 3rd edition of Age of Sigmar launched, and I got a few opinions about it, but I've been playing Stormcast Eternals since 1st edition because they came in the original box set. And this incarnation of the book does try and address some of the issues that the Stormcast were having going through the last 6 years. As they were a pilot army for the game, and their range just expanded and expanded and expanded and expanded, becoming bigger and bigger and bigger, and the book itself kind of growing to match. They were a bit of a bloated Battletome, lots of profiles that kind of aced each other out and made each other compete with each other. And unfortunately, because there was so many profiles and not so many battle line choices, you ended up with stuff just kind of rising to the top and other stuff not getting used. So this full color book, printed by CNC in China and designed in the UK, is 183 pages, full color, and actually significantly smaller page count wise by about 10 pages than the last one. It also includes, for the first time ever, some codes. I blacked it out. You know that I was gonna forget. I have forgotten in the past, and people have gotten the codes for these Battletomes that you can, of course, on the Warhammer Plus or the Age of Sigmar app, redeem in order to unlock the full gamut of this book as a digital copy as well. So digital copies coming with the core copies now. I think it's a nice little thing that they've been able to add by having their own pilot app to put in there. And so what do we got? Well, we've got all the Warscrolls. We've got some what's been going on. So basically the last 3 editions of the game have each focused on a different bad guy. So we had the Realm Gate Wars against Chaos, we had the Soul Wars against Death, and now we're into the Era of the Beast and the Beast Wars, and it kind of brings you up to speed with that timeline. What's been going on with Sigmar through all of that. And what's interesting is, like, as the timeline's progressed, they're actually now talking about how the Realm Gate Wars were like an age of myth. Like, generations have lived and died since then, and like there's a sort of like those wars basically are the myths of now. I find that really interesting. And of course the Stormcast watch all this because they're effectively immortal. They get reforged every time they die, and so they are kind of an interesting lens to see the mortal realms expand through. You get some background on all the different chambers. Or hosts, sorry, rather. The chambers are the things inside the host. And some of these guys don't exactly look nice. Like, check out the Astral Templars. That dude is not like a handsome fella. Then you've got like Vampire Goku over here, hanging out with his like Super Saiyan hair. It's an interesting portrayal of the Stormcast, because they're not exactly like, they're just not exactly like these like perfect heroes anymore. Like, check out the Celestial Vindicator. That bro is not exactly normal looking. Same with the Animals of Heldenhammer. There's some darkness in the Stormcast now, and the art in this is kind of portraying that. And then if we get some background for the new stuff, and the primary new stuff in here, there's the new Thunderstrike Chamber, which is the sort of the stuff that's piloted in 3rd edition, so all the stuff that came in the 3rd edition starter set, along with the new releases that are coming, like the Chariot, the new Bowfellas, and then the 2 new Dragons. So Dragons returning to the Mortal Realms. I was really hoping these would become kind of like an order version of Sons of Behemat, and they might still, but there isn't really any kind of like indication of that in here, where these 2 dragons, because they're so different, might be around in other armies. So Krondus is sort of like what the dragons used to be. He's like the last son of Dracothian, who is still fairly noble, and he casts magic. And then Karazai the Scarred, he's like, he hates the beasts, and obviously he hates Kragnos for what he did to their race, and he's more embittered, and he's more of like an enemy of my enemy is my friend dragon. So he hangs out with the Stormcast, but only when their like goals are in alignment. Lots of stuff about the new big character, Bastian Karthlos. He's the big Lord Commander of the Stormcast Eternals. And once we get through there, you're like, everybody's like, hurry up, Ash, get out of this. We get to a color section with some of those cool new models. I love the Bastion Carthos model is probably one of the nicest miniatures, I think, they've made in a while for the Stormcast. He's a good bridge in between the Thunderstrike and the older stuff, because you can see that even just the sculpting has evolved a great bit. They become taller, less squat. You can see there's like a length in the body that didn't exist in the original miniatures. They were a little more stubby. Like they had no torsos, whereas this guy has like a full torso. And so I'm excited that this is a new scool Lord Commander miniature. The Knight Relictor also like really neat, a bit more in line. But like if you look at the Lord Relictor compared to him, the sculpting has definitely evolved quite a bit for the look of the Stormcast. And this big Mamma Jamma, the Celestin Prime. I love him and also wish he was a newer miniature, because you can see he's still got this like stubby body, like where his waist is super wide for some reason and his torso isn't that big. His head's all sunk into his shoulders, and he's got the epic Mutant Chronicles Warzone shoulder pads that were sort of iconic of the time, but still a very cool model. Cares of the Scarred and Krondys, of course. It's a two version kit, makes 2 different dragons. I was really hoping it would make 3, and there was some dragon they hadn't shown yet that we would be able to see in here, but it's just these 2. And you can see obviously it's the same kit because they have the same wings, the same general leg pose, and then you've got different arms. So this arm touching the additional piece of statuary, and then these ones being covered up by the vambraces. So I'm assuming that this chest piece is different, like this whole head piece, and that leads to the slightly different positioning on the arms, and then these vambraces are just something that overlays on top. Actually, it's probably just part of his chest piece, but then different heads and stuff as well. Different enough that they don't look totally identical, but it's got the same Star Drake problem where, because the wings are such a huge feature of the model, because they have generally the same pose, like it's tipped down a little bit because I think his shoulder placement's different, but for the most part, they're just gonna look like the same dude doing the same like wave. They're wing high-fiving because they're bros. Cool new Storm Drakes and Storm Guards. These are like baby versions of the Drakesworn Templar. So it's one kit, makes either a Gennaro Rider guy or a Knight Draconis, which is a like hero guy. And then the older stuff. And again, like, I like the Star Drake, but he's design-wise very different from the new dragons. I wish he was slightly more in line with them. There is kind of a dissonance between his design and their design. He's a lot busier, you can see, just with like what's on him and stuff. His scales are a lot bigger and less smooth. Still a fantastically cool model, don't get me wrong, but the new dragons are like really nice dragon miniatures. Really nice dragon miniatures, and these are a lot more first edition Age of Sigmar, where they had lots of stuff on them. He looks like a dragon cosplaying as a Stormcast Eternal for Halloween. The new Vigilors, of course. These are the new plastic multi-part kit for the Annihilators, along with the Grand Hammer version, which is the guys without shields. And then again, like as you flip around, you can really see the design difference. Some painting stuff, and then we're gonna start unpacking what you guys really care about, which is the army rules, Path to Glory rules, match play rules. So taking a page from the 40k codexes, the layout has changed in these new Battletomes, along with, of course, the overall design aesthetic on the outside with this red and gold. And we're divided up into what you care about. So all stuff for your army, playing narrative games, so Path to Glory, and playing match play games. Again, I'm not going to spend a ton of time in here. I'm going to overview everything, but I'm not going to go through the individual rules. And just to kind of give you a spoiler alert, all the stuff for building your own battle host is only in here. Your Stormhouse design stuff is only Path to Glory. So it's a Path to Glory special rule. It's not used in match play. So there was a bit of advertising about how that was going to be cool. It's not necessarily something that you're going to see in your pickup games of Age of Sigmar. Oh, sorry, in your match play games of Age of Sigmar. In your pickup games, you're more likely to be able to see it. So jumping right in, allegiance abilities, battle traits. Okay, so some stuff changed here. Mostly, of course, the Storm Keep stuff was from a campaign book. It's now ratified right into the codex. You pick a Stormhouse. You don't have to if you don't want to, but there are 2, 4, 6, 8 available. Stormhosts are far less restrictive than they used to be. It's just, if you're the Stormhouse, you get this special rule. That's it. There's no like, you have to take these items. In fact, there are far fewer items in this book, which is one of the reasons the page count has gone down. There's way less artifacts, power, command traits, and like special traits for the Warhouse than there used to be. In fact, I think all the Warhouse are on 2 pages as opposed to being spread across. I think each one had its own page before. So that's right there. That's like 10 pages pulled out of the book, and a ton of items and stuff pulled out as well. Still around, Hammers of Sigmar, Hallowed Knights, Celestial Vindicators, Anvils of the Held Hammer, Knights Excelsior, Celestial Warbringers, Tempest Lords, and Astral Templars. Now the biggest change to these, which I'll talk about later on, is they let you take almost anything in the list as battle line, and that is an overall design change in this book that I think fixes a huge amount of problems with Stormcast Eternals in general, where your chunk of your army that was eaten up by battle line it was what it basically put things above other things. Now you can kind of skew anything you want, and we'll talk about that in a second. Guardians of the Heavens and Shield of the Mortal Realms. This is basically you get to choose if you're either a Scion of the Storm or a Stormkeep guy. And your army is going to have one of those 2 things and gain that keyword. So if you are Scion of the Storm, you get to do the place 1 down, place 1 in reserve, and then the half that are in reserve can deep strike over the course of the game. The Watchful Guardian, Stormkeep one, is where you can take 1 in 4 units to be a coalition unit of Cities of Sigmar. Now, coalition units, remember, they lose whatever their tag is if it's battle line, and they don't count as battle line. But you can basically mix and match Cities of Sigmar stuff. So, still love that from the Stormkeep thing. They get Shield of Civilization. They lose all the Liberator special abilities, but don't worry, all the Liberator stuff that was in the previous one, it just got way less complicated, and it's built into the Liberator stat line now. Which is both good and bad. Shield of Civilization, in the first and second battle rounds, if any friendly Stormkeep Redeemer units, which is basically all of your battle line choices, so Redeemers are things like Judicators and Liberators and a whole host of things, actually. If they're wholly within your territory, then each model counts as 3 models for contesting objectives. Starting from the 3rd battle round, if any friendly Stormkeep Redeemer units contest an objective that's anywhere in the battlefield, each model in that unit counts as 3 models for the purpose of contesting the objective. In addition, if any enemy unit finishes a charge move within 1 inch of a friendly Stormkeep Redeemer unit, and that's within 6 of an objective you control, roll a dice, and on a 3+, you take D3 mortal wounds. So they have like a built-in lightning shield if they're near objectives. In the first 2 turns, they count as 3 models for holding their own objectives that are in their territory, and then in the rest of the game, they count as 3 models everywhere. That is obviously Scions of the Storm is a super powerful ability, and a lot of the Thunderstrike stuff leans into being able to deep strike and do mortal wounds and stuff. But being able to count as 3 models, that takes away a bunch of problems that Stormcast have had for years, where they have a really big base size, they don't count as, you don't get that many models, so you can't actually fit that many models within range of an objective, and you just don't have that many guys. So that's a big upgrade to the Stormkeep. And then you get your enhancements. Now you're going to notice something different in this one too. There's not 6 of everything anymore. Used to be that there was always a D6 table. They just got rid of that. So if you still have D6 tables for you can roll or pick. They just decided that's a complete waste of time. Everybody picks, nobody rolls. Why are we always locked into having 6 of everything? We're just going to design the amount we want and put them in here. So for your command traits, this is it. There's a couple other things you can take, but these are your command traits. And there's only 4. So there's Shock and Awe. If your army Scions of the Storm and your generals on the battlefield, subtract 1 from hit rolls for attacks that target friendly Scions of the Storm units that were set up in the phase of that turn. So there's the one you take that gets you back that ability that used to be in Scions of the Storm. Staunch Defender. If you are a Stormkeep Redeemer unit, you can reroll the dice that determines the number of mortal wounds caused by enemies when you use Shield of Civilization if you're within 12 of the general. So your lightning field that you have on a 3+, you can reroll the damage that it does. And then there's 2 here that are not tied to either Scions of the Storm or Stormkeep Redeemer. So again, there's 4 of these. 2 are basically going to be taken based on what you chose for your Guardians of the Heavens and Shield of the Mortal Realms. Envoy of Heavens. If a friendly Stormcast Eternals model is slain wholly within 12 of this general, you can add 1 to the save rolls for attacks that target the slain model's unit until the end of that phase. The same unit can't benefit from this more than once per turn. So, pretty cool. Free all-out defense for as soon as you lose a guy within 12 of the general. That one's going to be popular. There used to be a Staunch Defender. I think that's actually, Staunch Defender used to be +1 saves within range of your general. This one's kind of like it unlocks based on the units being targeted, which is kind of actually a bit better. I guess you could, your opponent could knowingly trigger it and then have it affect something he doesn't care about, and then go to another direction. So I guess there's a way around this one, but it's kind of still there. And then Master the Celestial Menagerie. If this general is a monster and it's on the battlefield, subtract 1 from wound rolls for attacks made with melee weapons that target friendly Stormcast Eternal monsters. So -1 to wound all the monsters. If you want to leave them to dragons, that one's gonna be real popular. And you just take it on your dragon general. Actually, the dragon generals are both named characters, so you couldn't do that. But you can take a Star Drake. I think that's it. You basically take a Star Drake, take a character on a Star Drake and give him that, and then all the monsters are -1 to wound, which is pretty amazing. Artifacts power, there's 3, but there's actually 9 because there's weapons, armor, and then artifacts. So Blade of Heroes, pick one of the bear's melee weapons, reroll attacks made with weapon if they target heroes or monsters. Hammer of Might, pick a bear's melee weapon. If the unmodified wound roll for its 6, double its damage for that attack. And then Fang of the Dracothian, pick one of the bear's melee weapons. If any wounds caused by attacks made with that weapon are allocated to an enemy model, that enemy model suffers a mortal wound at the end of each turn. Forever. Forever. Just wound somebody and then they bleed out. Heaven-wrought armor. Drake scale armor. Reroll save rolls for attacks made with weapons that have a damage 2 or more to target the bearer. That one's going to be real popular. Mirror Shield, the bearer cannot be picked as a target of a shooting attack unless you're within 9 inches. And Amulet of Silvered Sigmarite. Your opponent cannot reroll hit rolls for attacks made with melee weapons that target the bearer. So all 3 of these really good. I'm thinking the Drake scale armor is probably the one that's going to be taken the most. Although just not being able to be targeted by a shooting attack, you can still be targeted by spells, but disappearing if you're not within 9 is pretty great. Especially if you're worried about being picked out on the way, or that you're really important for certain aura abilities. Artifacts of the Tempest, Quicksilver Draught, once per battle at the end of the charge phase, you can say that you're going to drink it. If you do so, the bearer fights at the start of the full-on combat phase, but the bearer cannot fight again in that phase unless an ability says they can fight more than once. Luckstone, once per battle, before you make a dice roll, you can just decide what it is. It could be 1d6, 2d6, and you just say what it is. That can't be rerolled, but any modifiers are applied as normal. And then Obsidian Amulet, once per battle at the start of the hero phase, you can say you'll raise your amulet. If you do so, ignore the effects of spells or the abilities of endless spells on the bearer until the next hero phase. So Obsidian Amulet could be cool. Honestly, I think because you're leaning into survivability a lot with Stormcast, the armor is the one you're most likely to take. None of these are great. The Hammer of Might could be, all of these require there to be dice rolls. Getting attacked with high damage, well, I think damage more than 1, thanks to something heroes have happen quite often. So being able to reroll your saves against it is a huge deal, especially when you have great armor. And then your Spell Lores, Lightning Blast, cast on 5. The closest enemy unit within, that's just visible, takes D3 mortal wounds. If more than one's equidistant, you can pick. Azurite Halo, cast on 5, and has a range of 12. So this is interesting. Knights are all range 12. Lords are all range 18 now for all of these spells. I'm not gonna explain that over and over again, but basically, if your rank is Knight, you're less apt to be able to have something in range than if you're a Lord. So 12 and 18 is standard for all of these. If the caster's a Lord or Draconith, for 18 inches, the dragons are all 18 as well. If cast, pick a friendly Stormcast Eternal unit wholly within range invisible until your next hero phase. If the unmodified save roll for an attack is a 6, you reflect back a mortal wound after all the attacks have been resolved. And it's any attack, so shooting as well. Celestial Blades is a spell with a casting value of 5 and a range of 12 if you're a Knight, or of course 18 if you're a Lord or Dragon. If you cast it, pick a friendly Stormcast Eternal unit wholly within range invisible. Add 1 of the wound rolls for your weapons. Chain Lightning, same thing, casts on a 6, 12, or 18. The enemy unit in range, invisible, takes D3 mortal wounds, and then roll a dice for each other enemy unit within 6, and on a 3+, they take a mortal wound. Good for when there's if you're talking a Gobblepalooza, you know what I mean, like multiple small groups of baddie heroes and stuff like that with low wounds. Thundershock, cast on 6, and if successfully cast, roll a dice for each enemy unit within range invisible. On a 3+, they're -1 to wound. So that's pretty great. Yeah, it's basically that monster ability, but with if it's on a Lord on an 18-inch range, everything in range on a 3+ is -1 to wound. That's a real good ability. Starfall, spell is cast on 5, and if successfully cast, pick a point in the battlefield within range invisible. Roll dice for each enemy unit within 3 inches. On a 3+, they can't make pile-in moves. So, yeah, nothing with a high casting value. It's like all 5s and 6s, and Thundershock and Starfall are amazing. -1 to wound and can't pile in can be huge, especially if you like fight into huge blob units with like 1-inch melee and stuff like that, things like zombies. If you charge them on a corner, you know, pile in your small unit and get all of your attacks, and they can't pile in towards you, that is a huge deal, not being able to pile in. There's a lot of things too that have like 6-inch pile-in moves just to jump into combat now as well. They can be unengaged and just like jump in when something's used to fight. That can be a huge deal as well, because they can even attack you without charging. So yeah, not being able to pile in and -1 to wound within 18 for these two guys, that's I'm gonna be using those for sure. Prayers, we've got 3 prayers. So there's Divine Light, it's a 3+ for your invocation, and a range of 12 for a knight, or 18 for a lord. So same thing with these, the ranges for all of the prayer units are 12 and 18 based on your rank. Obviously there's no dragon that's a priest at this point, so we don't have to worry about that. Pick a enemy unit within range invisible. You can reroll hit rolls of 1 for attacks that target that unit. So that's a really powerful one, because it's the enemy that you want to kill that you're targeting, not your units. So all of your units get reroll once, and there are very few reroll 1 abilities in the game anymore, because obviously the things that made you reroll 1s now typically have been FAQ'd to add 1 to your save or something like that. So that's a good one. So you pick the thing you want to kill, everything in your army is going to reroll 1s against it until your next hero phase. So if you get double rounded, still it'll stay like that. Translocation, prayer of 3+ and range of 9 for a chanter, or 12 for a lord. So, sorry, knight, or 12 for a lord. So this one's slightly reduced range. Pick a Stormcast Eternal unit wholly within range, remove it from the battlefield, and reset it up. So you can basically lightning teleport them. And then Blessed Weapons, it's a prayer of a 3+ with range of 12 or 18. If answered, pick a friendly Stormcast unit wholly within range invisible until your next hero phase. If an unmodified hit roll for an attack made by that unit's a 6, it scores 2 hits instead of 1. Make a wound and save roll for each hit. Now remember, this sounds like a great ability, but there's a lot of units in the game now, especially in the Stormcast, that have things that trigger on 6s. And the active player chooses the order of which one is activated and which one's discarded. So Blessed Weapons is great on folks that don't do exploding triggers on 6s. It'd also be a great way of protecting yourself against certain things. You know what I mean? Like the Nurgle ability to do mortal wounds when your opponent rolls a 6 to hit. That can be, you know, basically circumvented by Blessed Weapons. You get to pick your own then. Mountain traits, traits of the Noble Beast. So Etheric Swiftness for a Griff Charger, Dracoth, or Dracoline. You can pile in, sorry, if you're eligible to fight within 6, then you can pile in 6. Light of the Young Stars, Star Drake only. Choose this ability when you're carrying out a monstrous rampage. Pick an enemy unit within 1 inch of that unit and roll a dice. On a 3+, you're -1 to hit for attacks made by that unit in the following combat phase. So just, you do it instead of monster rampaging. So it's like a new monster rampage just for you. Celestial Instincts, you can retreat and still either shoot or charge. That one's really cool, and that's any mount at all. And I would definitely, like, yeah, Celestial Instincts is probably the best one. There's so many times, especially if you have fly, you want to leave combat. Basically, monsters very often are neutralized in AOS by being bogged down by like a throwaway unit. Being able to just be like, bye, is a huge deal. Trust me, having used my whatchamacallit, my God of Storm and Sea in my Addons Deepkin, my Eidolon rather, being able to fall back and do whatever you want each turn is a huge deal. Envoy of Lightning, if this unit's set up in the battlefield using Scions of the Storm, you can roll a dice for each unit within 10 on a 4+ to D3 mortal wounds. So sure, just turn your mount into Annihilators. Because that's what the game needed, is more Annihilators. Yeah. Scintillating Trail, subtract 1 from unbinding rolls for enemy wizards enemy wizards for spells cast by friendly Stormcast within 12. So basically, it's effectively a +1 to cast, but it's actually a -1 to the enemy if the unit that's casting it's within 12 of you. And then Thunderous Presence, it's for Draconith only. You can choose this ability instead of carrying a monstrous rampage. Pick an enemy unit within 1 inch of this unit and roll a dice. On a 3+, they can't receive commands. So yeah, they can't receive commands in the following Battle Shock phase. So basically, you can't be Inspiring Presenced during the Battle Shock phase, or anything else that happens during the Battle Shock phase. And then unique enhancements, command abilities. When you pick a Stormcast Eternal army, you can pick one of the following command abilities and use these during the battle. So this is new. Holy commands. So this is basically any hero can do this as long as you have this as part of your army. Call for aid. Use this command ability once per battle when a friendly Redeemer unit with 5 or fewer models is destroyed. If you do this, if you do so, and it's when they're destroyed, which is interesting, pick a friendly Stormcast hero on the battlefield. A new replacement unit identical to the one destroyed is added to your army. Set them up anywhere wholly within 12 of that hero and more than 9 from all enemy units. So during your opponent's turn, you've got like a hero all by himself on an objective or something way over here. Your Redeemer unit gets blown up, and you just go, no dice roll. They come back over here next to my hero. That's a pretty good ability. Steadfast March. You can use this command ability once per battle at the start of the movement phase. The command can only be issued by a friendly knight to a whole unit wholly within 12 or a lord or Draconith within 18. That unit receives the command, must be a friendly Stormcast Eternal unit. Until your next hero phase, they can run and still charge. So you get a free run charge once per game. Thunderbolt Volley. Use command ability once per battle in your hero phase. Knights are 12-inch range, Lord and Draconiths are 18. The unit that received the command must be a friendly Justicar or Angelos unit, and they can just shoot immediately in the hero phase. So free shooting in the hero phase. Unleash Thy Hatred. You can use command ability once per battle at the start of the combat phase. Range is 12 for Knights or 18 for Lords and Dragons. The unit that gets it must be Paladins. Add 1 to the attack characteristic of that unit's melee weapons until the end of the phase. So +1 attack can be a huge deal. And then final Thunderstrike. Issue this command once per battle at the start of the combat phase. The command can be issued by a Knight within 12 or a Draconith or Lord within 18. Must be a Stormcast unit. So again, these are all only basically, your Cities of Sigmar allies wouldn't be able to do them. Until the end of the phase, add 1 to rolls for the Blaze of Glory trait when a model is slain. So if you blow up on 5s now instead of 6s. And those are new. And so your army basically gets these as a holy command attached to the army, and any of the heroes could do them. And Stormhouse, yeah, see? 8 Stormhouse, 2 pages, done. So you get to pick a Stormhouse. It allows you to have that Stormhouse ability in your army. If you take a model that has a Stormcast or Stormhouse name, then they keep theirs and they don't get a new one. But your Hammers of Sigmar, friendly Hammers of Sigmar units within 12 inches of an objective have a 6+ ward. Hallowed Knights, if a friendly, and it's not, sorry, it is wholly within. Hallowed Knights, only the faithful. If a friendly Hallowed Knights Redeemer unit slain within 3 of an enemy model, roll a die on a 4+, they can fight before they're removed. That's a good one. Celestial Vindicators, driven by vengeance. At the start of the combat phase, you can pick a friendly Celestial Vindicators unit that made a charge move. Until the next hero phase, if the unmodified hit roll for an attack made by the melee weapon is 6, does 2 hits instead of 1, and make a wound and save roll for each. Deathly Aura. At the end of the charge phase, you can roll a 2d6 for each enemy unit within 1 inch of a friendly Anvils of the Heldenhammer unit. If the roll is greater than their bravery, the first 2 wounds caused by attacks made by that enemy unit in the following combat phase are negated. So -2 wounds at the end of the charge phase. But it's for all the enemy. So basically you're -2 damage if I roll over your bravery for every enemy that charges us. Sorry, for every enemy, period. That's within 1 inch of a Anvils of Heldenhammer unit. Knights Excelsior, Storm of Annihilation. Once per turn, at the start of the combat phase, you can pick a friendly Knights Excelsior Paladin unit in the battlefield. Till the end of the phase, when you pick them to fight, pick 1 enemy unit within 1 inch. If the number of models in the enemy unit is greater than the number of models in the Paladin unit, add 1 to hit and wound rolls for attacks made by the Paladins until the end of the phase. So it's once per turn. Basically, one of the Paladin units in your army gets +1 to hit and wound as long as they're outnumbered. Fearless Foresight, I mean, Paladins are, that's why you take Annihilators. Fearless Foresight, once per phase, this is for Celestial Warbringers. Reroll 1 hit roll or 1 wound roll for attacks made by Celestial Warbringers, or 1 save roll for attack that targets a Celestial Warbringers unit. So you get a single reroll once per phase. Tempest Lords Host on High. When you attempt to charge with a friendly Tempest Lords unit that can fly, you can reroll 1 of the dice for the charge roll. And then Astral Templars as Beastalkers. Friendly Astral Templars units cannot be picked when your opponent carries out a monstrous rampage. So your whole army is immune to monstrous rampages. Good this season, maybe not great next season. So that's the Stormhosts. But the most important part of the Stormhost is actually at the back here, and I'll come back to this later on, and that's what's gonna be battle line. So you've got 2, 4, 6 battle line choices for everybody now, but back here, we've got more, like Knights Excelsior can take any Paladins as battle line. Your Draconian Guard can be taken by Hammers of Sigmar, so all the mounted folks. And then your fulminators, you can use a unit of this for each Lord Selson on Dracoth you include in your army, but they can't have battle line. So the fulminators can't be battle line, but everybody else can. But they're units of 1, which is crazy. Then the Tempest Lords, they get prosecutors as battle line. Knights Excelsior can have, sorry, they've all got the paladins. Stormdrake Guard, battle line, if a Stormcast Eternals army is a Draconith or a Stardrake. And then Stormdrake Guard is singles. Single, you can use one of this type of for each Knight Draconis. You can include one unit of this type for each Knight Draconis you include in your army. This unit cannot have the battle line battlefield role. So basically, if you break up your Stormdrakes into like a hero and a guide, then you can have a unit of 1 or a unit of 2. And I think it's actually because they have 2 in the box. I'm not sure they have 2 in the box, but I'm feeling like that's probably going to be why. Because you can have a unit of 2 or you can have a unit of 1 as long as the other one's a hero. And then Ash Templars can have Vanguard Hunters and Vanguard Paladors as battle line. And then Vigilors can be battle line if your general is a Knight Judicator. But basically, a second reason to take all these, like Knights Excelsior, is that all the Paladins all of a sudden become battle line. Paladins aren't great, but if you can skew Paladins, they might be great. All right, so into Path to Glory. What do we got? Well, we've got the narrative rules for playing, and the biggest thing is you got to keep track of how many times your guys get reforged. So reforging is the theme here. Whenever a hero is killed in the Aftermath sequence, instead of removing the unit from your order of battle, you can say that we're reforged. You lose D3 renown points, or 2D3 if you're a rising hero, or it's D3 if you're a rising hero, and 2D3 if you're a mighty hero. Hero that's reforged is not removed from the order of battle, and instead they lose their ranks if their renown goes below 15 or whatever. And then, in addition, if the number of renown points lost by a hero is 5 or more, you can say that Grugny is overseeing the hero's reforging himself, and if you do so, you can spend a number of glory points equal to the number of renown points you lost. Then you pick a eligible heroic upgrade for the hero in the Aftermath sequence, in which they were reforged without spending any glory points, even if they did not have the renown points to do it. So Grugny can take an interest if you get killed too many times. And then there's the price of immortality, which is, of course, the number of times you get reforged, it gets worse and worse. This is the build your own host rules. And then you got your quests, different veteran abilities, and of course your territories and your core enhancements and what you can take and stuff. Battle plans for Path to Glory. And then we got some sweet, sweet Warscroll battalions. I'm not going to spend too much time on these because, again, they can't be used in match play, but for the most part, they are divided up by the different chambers. The Warrior Chamber can have Lords of the Warrior Chamber, 3 to 7 Lord units, and 3 to 15 Knight units. Thunderhood Brotherhood, 3 Liberator, Vindicator, or Vindictor or Vanquisher units in any combination, and 3 Judicators or Vigilors in any combination. And then a Hammer Strike Force, which is 3 Paladins and 3 Prosecutor units. And the ability is once per turn, when it's your turn to pick a fight, you can pick 2 eligible units in your battalion instead of 1. If you do so, each of those units fights one after the other in order you choose. So this is like your whole army is a Warrior Chamber, or your whole army is a Harbinger Chamber. And these Warscroll battalions obviously don't have a point cost anymore, but also aren't used very much. They're used in Path to Glory for the most part, probably. Extremist, Sacrosanct. And then we're into match play. All right, so big reveals here in match play. Stuff that I'm assuming because the first 2 that we're looking at, the other one you'll see today is the Orc War Clans, that all of the new Battletomes are going to have is their own grand strategies, their own battle tactics, and their own core battalions. So there's 3 grand strategies that you can choose from, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 ploys of war for battle tactics. These are available in any match play game. So as long as you're using the strategies and stuff, then the battle pack should say that you're able to use them. And that means these are on top of the ones available in the battle pack, probably. So grand strategies, Draconith Defense. Now when the battle ends, you complete this grand strategy if the only heroes in the battlefield are Draconith, Stardrake, or Dracoth units. That would be friendly or enemy. So if you play against Stormcast, I guess. They have to be friendly, never mind. Friendly Draconith, Stardrake, or Dracoth units. So it's any of those are still alive, then you're okay. Pillars of Victory. You get this one if the only battle line units on the battlefield are friendly Redeemer units. And then Sacred Charge. When the battle ends, you complete this grand strategy if there's 2 or more friendly Cities of Sigmar units still alive on the battlefield. So you managed to get the humans not killed. Pillars of Victory feels like it's a pretty good one to take because your Redeemer units can be brought back so much, especially with that Holy Command to like be able to recycle one for free if they die. You can just bring them back like way behind the enemy and not able to be touched. And then your ploys, Pioneers of the Realms. You complete this tactic if all the objectives wholly within your opponent's territory are contested by cities of Sigmar units at the end of the turn. That one seems okay. No challenge too great. You complete this tactic if an enemy hero is slain by wounds caused by a friendly attack made with melee weapons by a friendly Redeemer unit. So if one of your Redeemer units kills an enemy hero. Hammer Strike Assault. Pick a hero in your opponent's starting army that is on the battlefield and has a wound characteristic of 10 or more. And has 0 wounds allocated to it. You complete this tactic if the hero is slain during the turn. So if you kill a big guy. Lightning Shattered Morale. This one seems very unlikely to be able to do. Pick one unit in your opponent's starting army that's on the battlefield and has a bravery characteristic of 10 or more. Complete this tactic if any models fled that turn. So like, you're playing Nighthawks or Demons, and you can cause them to have a morale check and fail. Draconic Destruction. Pick one unit in your opponent's starting army that is on the battlefield and has 10 or more models. Complete this tactic if that unit's destroyed by wounds caused by attacks made by Draconic Stardrake or Dracoth units during that turn. That one feels like it can be achieved. And then a Matter of Honor, pick a monster in your opponent's starting army that's on the battlefield. You complete this tactic if the unit is destroyed by wounds caused by a Draconic or Stardrake unit during the turn. So your monster kills one of their monsters. And then Core Battalions. I don't know that I would use any of these. So the only upgrades available from these Core Battalions are Unified Drop, which is cool. The Brotherhood Command one allows you to basically get a, not Magnificent, but a Strategist, so an extra command point, out of having 3 foot units, 3 troop units, and 2 commander units. So they could be any wound count, any size. And the Soul Strike Battlehood gives you a Slayer by having 2 troop units and at least a single artillery and up to 3. There's no Unified Dropper there or anything like that, and it's just a free all-out attack. So yeah, I don't know that they're any better than the mixed units. Having up to 6 in a Unified Drop, I don't know. They don't seem, if there was a Magnificent in here for Brotherhood Command instead of a Strategist, maybe, because you could take a Dragon Army and still be able to do, well, I guess it wouldn't matter. You wouldn't get any you wouldn't get any extra upgrades anyway because they'd be named dragons, so you wouldn't be able to put them on them. But you could do Dragon, Stardrake character, and then 3 units of like Draconic Guard, and then have like an all-dragon army, and still get, but there's no Unified Drop there, so you're still taking 6 units. It won't fit into anything. And the Strategist, I guess, would give you an extra command point. Maybe, I don't know. I can't see a great bunch of reasons for taking them. But I haven't digested this book that well yet, so you don't know. So let's jump into Warscroll Battalions. Celestin Prime, he's pretty much untouched. His biggest change is his stat line is effectively the same. 3 attacks, 3+2+, -3 damage. He's still got Galmaraz, can still fly. He has Retribution on high, so even if you're not playing as Signs of the Storm, you can still put him in the sky. And just like before, if he stays up, for every turn he stays up, he gets 2 attacks to his hammer. He's got his Orrery for setting a dice roll, which is the same. Biggest change is, I have the Celestial Storm, 4+ ward save. He has a ward shrug now. That's a big change for poor Mr. Celestin Prime. He was kind of squishy for his points before. Basically, effectively, you're giving him 4 extra wounds. So he's got effectively 12 wounds now, and if you get lucky, that ward save can keep him alive almost indefinitely. That's a big shift with the ability now to heal, because every heal he does, if he does a heroic recovery and has a bravery of 10, so it's very unlikely he fails, he's getting back effectively a wound and a half every time he regenerates a wound. So, big upgrade for Mr. Celestin Prime. I think his point value kind of reflects it. He has the Celestin Prime, ABC, 325. Not that much more expensive. I think actually he was 300. He might have even gone down a little bit. He was a very popular allied choice before. I think he'll be a very popular allied choice still for 325 in those abilities, because he does everything he needs to do by himself. He doesn't need to be in a Stormcast army to do it. And it also means when he's allied, he can be put in the heavens in reserve, and yeah, and comes down no matter what. So Still going to be a popular ally choice for other armies, I think. He's not a monster. He doesn't have a wound track, and he hits like a ton of bricks. Can hit longer the higher you keep him up in the air. And still, with his Combat Strike Scepter, can be relevant even if he's not in combat, just dropping stuff down. All right, the dragons, Krondus and Karazai. They share a bunch of traits. So, for instance, their Calamitous Tail. It has a number of attacks equal to the number of models within 3 inches. It's amazing. 3-inch range, 3+3+, -2/2 damage. The Blazing Tempest, which is effectively just a big fire blast. Roll a d6, 1 or 2 do 1 mortal wound, 2 to 3 do d3, and then 5, 6 do d6 mortal wounds to the target. And then the bigger differences are their talons and their maws. So the Apex Maw on Krondus is 2-inch range, 4 attacks, 3+, and then 1+ to wound, -2, 3 damage. Karazai's got more attacks, 6 attacks, 3+, 1+, -3, 3 damage. So bigger rend and 2 extra attacks on him. Same core stats. They move a degrading amount, 14-inch move, 12-inch move, 10-inch move, 8-inch move. But they don't start getting wounded until they're bracketed at half. That seems to be the new track for monsters now, like the new Leviathan. You gotta get them to half wounds before you actually start damaging their abilities. And with a 3+ save and 18 wounds, that's pretty legit. 10 bravery. The Drake Lord's Talons, 1-inch range, 3 attacks, 3s and 3s, -2, 2 damage. And the Ruinous Talons, 1 extra attack, same core stat line. So obviously Karazai is fightier. Their biggest thing is though, if they dive into a huge unit, that Calamitous Tail is going to do such a huge amount of damage. It's insane. Like, if you charge them into a Goblin unit and you've got 12 or 13 models within 3 inches of him, and he's got a huge base, that's not that hard. He's gonna, if you just all-out attack with him, he's gonna have, like, he's gonna kill like 24 to 30 Goblins a turn, and then Battle Shock unless they're immune to Battle Shock, which hopefully they will be. If they're not, we'll just like wipe out the rest of the unit. Both these dragons are absolutely insane at just clearing giant units. Zombies, whoever they can dive into, they will just delete a big unit every single turn. Yeah, so pretty terrifying. The other things they all have in common, Ancient Master of War, you're -1 from the attack characteristic of any melee weapons that target them. So anyone with 2 attacks has 1 attack. That's just half the potential damage, especially when so many things like get exploding mortals on 6s and stuff. Reducing the dice pool against you is a huge deal. And it's only against melee weapons, though, it's not shooting. Then they have the, the Fires of Vengeance, which is the big one for Karazai, and then the Casting and Regalia Fulmentaris is the big difference between the two of them. So the magic stuff here, Wizards, Cast 2s, Unbinds 2. The Regalia gives him a casting bonus based on his wound track, so starts at +3. When he brackets, goes to +2, and then at a quarter wounds left, +1, and then 0 when he's at 15+ wounds. He has a spell, Atavistic Tempest. It's 1 spell with a 9+ to cast and a range of 24 inches. You pick an enemy in range, invisible, and then pick an effect. You can just pick one of these 4 effects. You can have -1 hit for their attacks, -1 rend for their weapons, subtract 1 from the attack characteristic of missile weapons down to a minimum of 1, and then -1 from save rolls. So just a great toolbox spell, does a bunch of things, but instead of giving him multiple spells, he's got 1 spell that kind of does it all. It means you can't stack these effects. It's kind of a clever game design way of making it so that you can't get more than one of these things out per turn, but you do have a really cool pool of abilities to pull from. At +3 to cast 2, the 9+ is it's going to be happening very, very, very frequently early on, and if you're leaning into dragons, you're leaning all the way into dragons, so keeping him healthy with a heroic recovery is probably not going to be that hard. Karazai the Scarred. His big ability is going to be the Fires of Vengeance. Each time this unit destroys an enemy unit, you can apply the relevant effect below. So a bit like the Soulblight Gravelords with their Vampire Knights, they get units when they kill stuff, so does he. If it was a hero monster, he gets +1 attack to the melee weapons for the rest of the battle. So all of his melee weapons get +1 attack if he kills a hero or monster. If the enemy unit has a wounds characteristic of 3 or more and was not a hero or monster, add 1 to run and charge rolls for the rest of the battle. And then if the enemy unit had a characteristic, wound characteristic of 2 or less, just heal a wound. So, sweet. You destroy a unit with 2 or less wounds, get a wound back. He snacks, basically. And that's the dragons. Now, they're also both Thunderstrike, which is an interesting note there. And they have the Stormcast Eternal keyword. So they explode when they die. Yep, that's right. They explode when they die. Going back to, where is it? Their core allegiance abilities. Let me just double check. 18 wounds, and they're Thunderstrike, so an extra dice. Blaze of Glory. If a friendly Stormcast Eternals model is slain within one of the enemy, pick a unit within one. For a Thunder Strike, you roll an additional dice. Each 6+ does a mortal wound. So they die and they roll 19 dice to explode and turn back into lightning. And they get reforged, I guess, too. Sure, why not? So order, Stormcast Eternal, Dracona, Thunderstrike, Hero, Monster, Wizard, Krondus, and then it's Karazai for the other side. Pretty neat. I mean, you're looking at, if you're going to make an all-dragon army, which you can do, they are 600 points each. So 1,200 points for just them, and you need some battle lines still. You could go 1,700 if you take Stardrake, Lord. You're probably not going to be able to fit him in, though. But you could take, and where is it? Battle line, if the Stormcast Eternals army is a general, is a Draconith or Stardrake. So, Draconith, yup. That means that Stormdrake Guard for 285 points, our battle line. You can't fit 3 units. They're too big for 3 units. You can only fit 2. You have to take at least one other battle line thing. So 2 units of Stormdrake Guard. That would be not quite 600 points. So you're looking at 570 points. So 1,770. And you've got 230 points to fit in one other battle line unit. You just make them, I don't know, something that gets Dracothian guards. Make them Hammers of Sigmar. Dracothian Guard Tempestors can be one. And then there you go. You're off to the races. So all dragons, 2 of the dragons don't have wings because they're Draconith or Dracolines or whatever, but it's an army. You want to go full dragon, you can go full dragon. Indrasta, she's effectively the same. She hasn't changed at all from the stuff we've seen in the starter set, so not a lot to talk about there. We got Bastian Karthlos. He's got a 6-inch move, which is nice for a Stormcast. 8 wounds, bravery 10, 3+ save. He's got Uskavar the Sunderer, 2-inch range, 4 attacks, 3s and 2s, -2, 4 damage. Well, take that, Gal Miraz. You're the old hammer. This is the new hammer, Uskavar the Sunderer. He's the Thunderborn. He calls down big lightning bolts. Once per turn in your hero phase, pick an enemy unit on the battlefield and roll a number of dice equal to that unit's wound characteristic. For each 6, they take a mortal wound. So the bigger the wounds they have, like Sons of Behemat, the more the lightning affects them. So 35 dice on their characteristic. Even though they have 1 wound left, you still roll 35 dice, and every 6 is a mortal wound. He is great at slowly grinding away during their hero phase, so 5 times per game, giant multi-wound units. Really good at killing things like, ironclads too. All those big number of wound units that are made by the dwarves. He's got Castellan of Azur. At the start of the first battle round, after determining who is the first turn, before your first turn begins, you can pick up D3 friendly Hammers of Sigmar units anywhere on the battlefield and set them up again. So after you know who has first turn, you can redeploy. That one's pretty cool. He's got a 4+ ward, Vessel of the Tempest. Voice of Thunder. Once per turn, he can issue a command to a Hammers of Sigmar unit anywhere in the battlefield without spending command points. Take that, Lumineth Relpords, and your oppressive spell of double cost. And not even a range, he just shouts real loud. And then Mantle of the First Storm. At the end of a phase, if any enemy models were slain by wounds caused by that unit's attacks, he can just heal all his wounds. So he's got 8 wounds, but he goes to full if he kills anybody. Any enemy model. Just kills a goblin, full wounds. Pretty cool. And then Vanus Hammerhand, he is 9 wounds, 10-inch move, 3+ save, bravery 10. He's changed slightly. Heldenson is still really good. 2-inch range, 3 attacks, 3s and 2s, -1, 3 damage. So I think it was D3 +1 before, or D3, or maybe I'm just remembering the regular dude on Dracoth. But he has +2 attacks, 3 charges. Stormblast is the same. 4+ does D3 mortal wounds. But it's not pick a point in the battlefield anymore, it's just the target. Lord of the Hammerhands, no battle shock within 24 for Hammers of Sigmar. And then Vengeful Determination, once per turn at the start of your combat phase, pick a friendly Redeemer unit of Hammers of Sigmar wholly within 12 and give them +1 attack. So still a good, solid choice. The 12-inch no battle shock bubble is really cool. 24-inch, but Indrasta with a 12-inch one is still, and her like Dazzling Radiance ability is really good as well. Ventus Firestrike still casts 2 and binds 2. Still has the Torlon. I didn't notice a ton of changes. Again, to go through this whole book and notice every single change is going to be oppressive, so just assume I'm going to miss things, because I'm going to miss things. Still your big combat trail, so you're +1 to hit with friendly Hammers of Sigmar units and Hammer Hall units if they're within 3 inches of unit until your next hero phase. So basically after they make a normal move. So if you make a normal move within 3 inches of the thing you want to have being attacking, they get to add 1 to hit rolls. Cycle of the Storm, same as a Lord Arcanum. Pick a model slain, they come back with a wound. Thunderhead Crown, in your hero phase, you can heal D3 wounds. And then a Pyroelectric Blast, it's a cast on 7, range of 9. Pick a point in the battlefield that's in range invisible, and every enemy unit within 3 takes D3 mortal wounds. That's a great spell. But only a 9-inch range, so not super far. Again, these are all Hammers of Sigmar, too, so you're looking at having to take that as your host. Which means you do unlock all the mounted units, for the most part, the mounted paladins, as your battle line. Astria Soulbright, she has cast 1, unbind 1. I don't know why they don't give more cast 2, unbind 2s out for the special characters in Stormcast. Still has Cycle of the Storm. Attacks are pretty much as standard, but 2 flat damage now for her Aether Stave, which I think is actually standard now for the Lord Arcanum. It was D3 before. I think it's gone to flat 2. Yeah, flat 2. A lot less variable damage in this army. The Monstrous Claws are D3 damage on the Dracoline. Thunderous Pounce, reroll charges. Soul Energy of the first host. At the start of the combat phase, you can pick a friendly Hammers of Sigmar Sacrosanct unit, wholly within 12 inches of this unit. Add 1 to save rolls for attacks made with melee weapons that target that unit until the end of the phase. So +1 save. And then Lightning Pulse, cast on 6, range 6. If successfully cast, subtract 1 from hit rolls made by enemy units within range until your next hero phase. So all enemies within 6 inches, basically, are -1 to hit if you cast it. Guard of Steel Soul. He's a Hallowed Knight and still does his giant superhero landing. He's got his Sigmarite War Cloak. It's D6 attacks, 3+3+, -1/1 damage, so that's a change for Lord Celestant. No more throwing mortal wounds out. Friendly Hallowed Knights within 12 have a 5+ ward save. And then Martyr's Strength, roll a dice for this unit. If it's destroyed in combat on a 2+, it can fight before it's removed. Saintly Assault, once per battle at the start of your charge phase, you can declare a Saintly Assault. If you do so, until the end of the turn, you can reroll charge rolls for friendly Hallowed Knight units wholly within 12 of this unit and add +1 to the attack characteristic of friendly Hallowed Knight units wholly within 12 of this unit. So, pretty cool. He's got some cool aura effects. If Saintly Assault was more than once per battle, I think it would be cooler. Big Boy and Stardrake, 18 wounds, 3+ save, Bravery 9. Again, he brackets at half as well. Rain of Stars, it's got, 4 attacks at the top bracket, 1 at the bottom. 30-inch range, 3+2+, -3/2 damage. That's a pretty legit shooting attack. And then he's armed with either a Celestine Hammer or a Stormbound Blade. Hammer is 3 attacks, 3+2+, -2/2 damage. The Stormbound Blade is going to be 6 attacks, 3+2+, -1/1 damage. It kind of just evens out. They both have a 2-inch range now, so I'd rather have less dice because you have more chances for failure and the better rend, I think, on the hammer. You get your Arcane Lineage. And then the tail is D6 attacks, 3+3+, -1/2 damage. Great Claws are 4 attacks, 3+3+, -2/2 damage. Arcane Lineage, you're +1 to cast with an 18 and -1 for enemy casting with an 18. And then Cavernous Jaws, pick 3 models within range of 3 inches, and of course on a dice roll higher than their wounds characteristic, they're slain. Great way to kill unit champions, standard bearers, totems, stuff like that in units. Mostly, great way to kill stupid netters in goblin armies. Sigmarite Thunder Shield, if you roll a 6 for a save, the opponent takes a mortal wound after all its attacks have been resolved. Lord of the Host, once per battle, this unit can issue the command to a friendly Stormcast Eternals unit wholly within 12 without spending a command point. So, kind of a worse Lord Imperatant for his order. Gavi Shearheart, he was real popular in the last book. 5-inch move, 6 wounds, 3+ save, Bravery 10. I'm just gonna, I was gonna make this way easier. I'm just gonna look for changes. I have this book right here. I can just flip it open. I actually don't think Gabriel's in here though. I think I'm misremembering and he was an add-on later. Astria Soulbright. Advanced Hammerhand. Oh no, he was flat 3. He was flat 3 damage, but he had D3 attacks instead of 2. That's what changed. He became +2. Yeah, Gabriel Shearheart. Still has his command ability. He is 5 attacks now, 3+3+, -1/2 damage, so some bonus attacks, extra wound as well, and extra bravery. Inescapable Vengeance is the same. Actually, no, sorry. If an unmodified hit roll for an attack made with his melee weapons of 6 does 2 mortal wounds, and the attack sequence ends. That's pretty sweet. Once more for Sigmar Charge. You can reroll charge rolls for this unit. In addition, once per turn, the unit can issue Forward Unto Victory command to a friendly Hammer Sigmar without a command point being spent. And then Sigmar Thunder Shield, when struck with sufficient force, you get your 6+ bounce back. That is very different for once more for Sigmar Charge. So he was taken before for his +3 to charge rolls for dudes within 12, so they could show up with Deep Strike and then charge in. That's gone now. Neve Black Talon gets an extra bravery, keeps her wounds. Her gun is an extra attack or an extra shot now with a rend. Her axes are 8 attacks now, 3+3+, -1/1 damage. She gets +D3 attacks if she charges. She can run and still shoot. And then Wind Rider. Wind Rider is no longer Ride the Winds Etheric. You can just pick her up off the battlefield and set her up anywhere, more than 9 from the enemy and 1 from objectives. Lord Arcanum on Toralon. Cast 1, unbind 1. Flies. The Aether Stave is flat damage now. 4 attacks, 3s and 3s -1. Horns and Stamping Hooves. 4 attacks, 3s and 3s -1 D3. So a lot more damagey. Comet Trail, +1 hit rolls if you end a move within 3. Cycle of the Storm's the same. Lightning Orb. Cast on 6, range 12 inches. If successfully cast, pick a point in the battlefield within range invisible. Roll dice for each enemy unit within 3 on a 4+. They take D3 mortal wounds. That's pretty great too. So, yeah, for the most part, flat damage now. Your Celestin on Dracoth, same number of wounds. Bravery 9, 3+ save. Stormblast, again, doesn't affect all units, just 1 unit within 12 for a 4+ D3. I think is different. Let me just double check. Lord Celestin on Dracoth. Lightning Breath. Where are you, Lightning Breath? Storm Breath. Yeah, it used to be each enemy. It's just 1 now. 4+ D3 mortal wounds. Sigmar Thunder Shield bounces back. Fierce Retribution. You can all out, once per battle, you can issue all out attack without a command point being spent. Impaling Strikes. Use this Storm Strike Glaive as a damage characteristic of 3 instead of 1 if they charge in the same turn. That's pretty cool. So different weapons get better abilities. Blast Ashes is the same. Cleaving Blow. Add to the attacks of a Thunder Axe if the number of models in the target unit is greater than the number of models in this unit. So as long as there's 2 dudes, you're +2 attacks to your Thunder Axe. And then Tempestus Hammer, D3 if you charge in the same turn. So yeah, Glaive is 5 attacks, 3+3+, -1/1 damage. Hammer is 3 attacks, 3+3+, -2/2 damage. Everything went up pretty much in Rend. The Tempestus Hammer stayed the same. That was about it. And then everything went up in attacks except for the Lightning Hammer and the Tempestus Hammer. Claws and Fangs went up by 1 attack, 3+3+, -2/2 damage now. So they're actually pretty dangerous, but they lost the 6 piercing. They're just more consistent. And that's pretty much the same across the board here. The monsters became more dangerous, and the heroes became more consistent. Lord Arcanum on Dracoline, 8 wounds, 3+ save. It's interesting how the newer the miniature, the more wounds it has, and slightly better it is. Aether Stave's the same, Cast 1, Unbind 1, Cycle of the Storm's the same, Thunder's Pounce is the same. Pack Alpha, add +1 attacks to Monstrous Claws made by Dracoline units wholly within 18. Whew, that's pretty cool. That's worth taking the Dracolines now all of a sudden. And there's that great star set that's like 2 units of Dracolines and then a Lord Arcanum on Dracoline. There might actually be a Lord Arcanum on Grip Charger. Speaking of which, still 1 more wound than the guy on the Dracoth. Same core stats for Cycle of the Storm. Cast 1, Unbind 1. Ride the Winds Etheric has changed now. It's not 66. It's just pick up and place outside of 9, not within 1 of an objective. Healing Lights, casts on, and the Razor Sharp Beacon Claws, 3 attacks, 3+, -2/1 damage. No special claw attacks now. Healing Light casts on 5+, pick a Stormcast Eternal unit within 18 and heal D3 wounds. If the casting was 8+, heal D6 wounds instead. Mr. Lord Aquilor, 4 shots, 3+, -1 and 1 damage with his pistol. That's a nice change to the pistols. Starbound Blade, 3 attacks, 3+, -1/2 damage. Shock Hand Axe, 2 attacks, 3+, -1/2 damage. And he's got both. He's got everything. He's armed with all of it. And the Razor Sharp Beacon Claws is the same. Ride the Winds Etheric, and then Lord of the Azerite Hurricane. Once per battle, you can issue a command to a friendly Vanguard unit wholly within 18 without spending a command point. Lord Imperatant, pretty much the same as in the starter set. Guided by Lightning is the same. 1 unit, once per turn, can set up within 7 instead of 9. Mr. Lord Senescent, again, his War Cloak has changed. No more mortal wounds. Inescapable Vengeance. His attacks basically do 2 mortal wounds on a 6 to hit, as opposed to any extra damage. And then Fierce Retribution, you can all-out attack without a command point once per battle. 6 wounds, 3+ save, Bravery 9. I think he got an extra wound. Mr. Lord Relictor, he's a priest, 4 attacks, 3+, -1, 2 damage. Morris Priest gets +1 to chance, so he chants on 2s, that's pretty cool. Healing Storm, casts on 4, so it'd be on 3 for him, for his special prayer. If a friendly Stormcast Eternals unit's wholly within range, they can heal up to D3 wounds, invisible. Lightning Storm, casts on 4, so 3s for this +1 to cast. And a range of 12, pick an enemy unit within range, they take D3 mortal wounds, and they're -1 to hit. So, cool. Lord Castellant, his lightning is basically the same. He has 8 wounds though? What? Oh, it's because they build the Gryph-hound into him now. So his Gryph-hound rules are the same as the Gryph-hound on the Lord Imperatant, and that's why he's got 2 extra wounds. And it's built in with its Vicious Beacon Claws, 4 attacks, 3+, 4+, -1, 2 damage for the Halberd now with 4 attacks. Warding Lantern, +1 saves to friendlies, and then 2+ D3 mortal wounds to enemies. And that's it. The Gryph-hound gives him a big threat for that Halberd though, because that's 2 40mm bases that are basically measuring everything from. Lord Exorcist, still a priest, still a wizard, cast 1 and blind 1. Caskets, Redemptor Caskets. Slain models cannot be returned to enemy units that are within 9 of any friendly units with this ability. That's pretty cool for fighting death. Zombies not coming back, skeletons not coming back when they are within 9 of him. That's a huge, huge FU to certain armies. Purifying Blast, he's got his 5+ to cast, range of 12. If cast, roll a dice for each enemy unit within range. If it's add the unit's bravery to the roll. If it's less than 12, they take D3 mortal wounds. So for every enemy within 12 of him, and it's D6 plus your bravery, and if it's not a 12, they take D3 mortal wounds. That's a pretty cool exploding ability. That would wreck goblins. And then his melee is not bad. 4 attacks, 3s and 3s, -1, 2 damage. 8 wounds in the Lord Veritant, because again, he's got a sweet, sweet Gryph-hound, which is built into his model now. He's got his Lantern of Abjuration. You can unbind a spell, in the same manner as Wizard. And then Sanction is a prayer that has a answer value of 4 and a range of 12 inches. If answered, pick an enemy unit within range invisible. They take D3 mortal wounds. Lord Ordinator, so he still gives his +1 to hit for Order War Machines within 9, so still a great ally for Cities of Sigmar and stuff. He still gets Comet Strike. He's kind of unchanged, 6 wounds, 3+ save, Bravery 9. Hammers are 5 attacks, 3s and 3s, -1, 2 damage, or the Grand Hammer, 2 less attacks, but a better random wounds on 2s. Lord Arcanum, I'm a fave, because he's still relatively cheap. Aether Staves, 4 attacks, 3s and 3s, -1, 2 damage. Cast 1, unbind 1. Etheric Manipulation, when moving a predatory endless spell controlled by this unit, adds 6 to the distance it can be moved in the phase. That's pretty cool. That's a new ability. And then Cycle the Storm keeps someone alive, which is the reason to take him anyway. And then Thunderclap has a range of, a cast of 6 and range of 18. If cast, pick an enemy unit within range invisible. Subtract 1 from hit rolls for attacks made by that unit until your next hero phase. This is a great meat and potato spell. Still love the Lord Arcanum. He does a bunch of stuff that I think is great. But the keeping a model alive with 1 wound, that's a huge deal. Mr. Drake's Horn Templar, he's just a non-heroic kind of version of the, he's still a hero, but a non-lord version of the other Star Drake. 4+ save instead of 3+ though. That's a big difference. 18 wounds, brackets at half. And his weapons are basically the same. Still gets Arcane Lineage, still gets Cavernous Jaws. His Arc Hammer, if you roll a 6 to hit, it's 2 hits instead of 1. Stormlance, if you hit a monster with a 6, it's D6 mortal wounds and the attack sequence ends. Tempest Axe, enemy models within 3 inches of a unit armor with the Tempest Axe can only move 1 inch when making a pylon move. And then Celestial Blast, If the unmodified hit roll for a Skybolt roll is 6, the target takes a mortal wound and the attack sequence ends. Pretty cool. Rain of Stars and still a Shockbolt Bolt too. He has his bow and one of the following. So he's kind of a shooty dragon, and I honestly like the pose of him better too than the Drakesworn, than the other guy, the big guy. That -1 save though, not great. All right, into new stuff. Knight Draconis, 12-inch move, 11 wounds, 3+ save, bravery 8. Flame Stream, 12-inch range, roll a die. On a 1 or 2, nothing happens. 3/4, D3 mortal wounds, 5/6, D6 mortal wounds. So like a light version of the dragon one. Arcane Heritage, each time this unit's affected by a spell or endless spell on a 4+, just ignore it. And then Wrath of the Draconith. Once per battle in your hero phase, pick a friendly Stormdrake Guard unit wholly within 12 that has not made a shooting attack. They can shoot, so you can use your fire once per game free in the hero phase. And then finally, Dragon of the Tempest. In the combat phase, after all this unit's attacks have been resolved, you can pick an enemy unit within 1 inch of the unit and roll a dice. If the wound roll is greater than their wounds, they're slain. But it's unit, and you don't get to pick the model, they get to pick the model. So your 8 on Fire Blade, 5 attacks, 3s and 2s, -3/2 damage, and your Draconic Fangs and Talons, 4 attacks, 3s and 3s, -2/2 damage. He's a decent little fighter. The cost of him, though... Where is he? Draconic Templar. Drakesworn Templar, Stardrake. Draconic Templar. Knight Draconis, sorry. Knight Draconis. 255. Not bad, actually. I think he's less than the Lord Celestin on Dracoth. Nope, he went down. He went down to 215. Lord Arcanum on Torlon's still more expensive. But for the most part, all the mounted heroes even went down. And then the Knight Relictor. I wish I was more impressed with this guy because I love the miniature. 5-inch move, 3+ save, 6 wounds, bravery 8. Relic Maul, 3 attacks, 3s and 3s, -1/2 damage. I mean, the Knight Vexilor is better than him. He's got 4 attacks, the same profile. Like, he's a fighty bro. He's not carrying a giant flag to get in the way. Why is that Relic Maul not as good as a Sigmarite Warblade? Relic Sensor. Each time a friendly Stormcast Eternals unit wholly within 12 is affected by a prayer or ability of an invocation, you can roll a dice. On a 4+, you can ignore it. So he wards you against priests, because priests were so relevant in the current meta. Yeah. See, I would have thought that was good if it was that, or when you target a unit within 12 of them with one of your own prayers, you get +1. If it was both those things, so 4+ shrug from enemy prayers and invocations, but +1 for your own prayers and invocations to affect those units, he'd be worth taking. Because then he wouldn't be always situational. When you're waiting for someone to cast a prayer or an invocation at you, and then you only get a 4+ shrug, that's way more situational. And he's a knight. Where is he? How many points is he? That's what I really want to know. Knight Relictor. Knight Relictor, QR. 140 points for that. 140 points for 3 attacks, basically. And then sometimes a shrug. No. Too expensive and doesn't do anything all the time. Knight Judicator with Gryph-hound. 5 wounds, 3+ save, bravery 8, move 6-inch. The Terminus Great Bow, 2 attacks, 3s and 2s, and -3/3 damage. That is a great gun. That is a better Celestar Ballista. Knight Judicator, how many points are you? 205, okay. 205. That's expensive. That's expensive for a kind of better Celestar Ballista. But you also get your Warblade, 3 attacks, 3s and 3s, -1/1 damage. You're not a fighter, you're a lover. Your Faithful Gryph-hounds, you summon 2 Gryph-hounds to the battlefield, so kind of like the old characters that summoned 1 Gryph-hound. The first time you're set up, you can summon the Gryph-hounds with you. And then Gaze of Sigmar, once per battle. In your shooting phase, you can gaze at this unit and we'll draw the Gaze of Sigmar instead of attacking. If you do so, pick a point in the battlefield within 30 of this unit invisible. Roll a dice for every enemy within 6 on a 4+, take D3 mortal wounds. So that's why you're paying 205. He's basically calling a comet. Regular old Knight Vexilor with 2 different pennants. 4 attacks, 3s and 3s, -1/2 damage. Why are the flag guys fighting better than the Knight Relictor? Come on. Dude's swinging 2 things in his hands. That's as if you couldn't hit someone with that. It's covered in spikes. Give him better attacks. I'm mad about the Knight Relictor because he's cool and he's a new model and I wanted him to be awesome. He's got a meteoric standard. If you carry that once per battle, pick a point in the battlefield within 24. Every enemy unit within 6 takes D3 mortal wounds. That's a cool extra splash of damage. And then Pennant of the Stormbringer. You can relocate a unit within anywhere in the battlefield, basically. Put them somewhere else, not within 9 of the enemy. And then Soul Charged Icon, reroll charge rolls for friendly Stormcast within 12. So he also gives you rerolls. So these two things once per game, but gives you rerolls to charges. Knight Vexillar with Banner of Apotheosis, still kind of awesome. I'm still probably going to use him. He's got Banner of the Reforged, pick up to 3 friendly Stormcast units, D3 wounds, bring back slain models, and then reroll charges for the Soul Charged Icon. So you can always reroll charges, and once again, bring dudes back to life. I like bringing dudes back to life. He's more expensive than his friends, though. Knight Venador still has the cool Star-Fated Arrow, but is probably outshone by the Knight of Zeros. Realm Hunter's Bow, he's got 5 wounds, 12-inch move, 3+ save, bravery 8. He's got 30-inch attack. It's on 3s and 3s, -1 damage. And then the Celestial Beacon Talons from his buddy the Crow, 30-inch range, 3s and 3s, -1 damage. You didn't just make it one. I guess it can't be subject to any of his special weapon rules, but like, yeah, I mean, I guess. Why did you make those 2 profiles? It's just one big pool of dice. Bow Stave, 2 attacks, 3s and 4s, 1 damage, and then the Beacon Talons, 4 attacks, 3s and 4s, 1 damage. He's not a melee guy. Once per battle in your shooting phase, you can fire the Star-Fated Arrow, pick an enemy unit within 30, on a 3+, take D3 mortal wounds, and if it's a hero or monster, it's D6. Knight of Zeros, that's the big thing. Once per turn at the end of the charge phase, pick an enemy unit within 9 of the enemy, and add 1 to hit rolls for friendly Stormcast in the following combat phase. He shines light on someone, makes him easier to hit. 5 attacks, 3s and 3s, -1, 2 damage. He's a decent fighter. 3+ save, bravery 8. Pretty cool. He'd be a good candidate, actually, for the can't be targeted except for if you're within 9 inches of him, because then you can only shoot him within 9, and if he's within 9, he's already marking you out to kill somebody. So of all of those like Raymonds, I would say if you're going to have Magnificent to get 2 abilities and you're taking the Knight of Zeros for those bonuses to attack, take that one on him. It'll keep him from getting killed, and you'll keep your I can mark a unit up to be +1 to hitted. Basically, select something to die. That's going to be a popular combo. Knight Arcanum, I still don't know why you take this one. It's just not as good as the Knight Incantor with the Void Storm Scroll. 3 attacks, 3s and 4s, -1 D3 damage. Variable damage even, like a worse melee attack. Cast 1, unbind 1. Has an extra wound, I guess, over the Knight Incantor. Predatory Endless Spells, can't pass within 3 of them, or finish a move within 3, so you can ward off spells. And then Blaze of the Heavens, cast on 7, pick an enemy unit within 18, invisible, they take D3 mortal wounds, and add 2 to the range for all the Thunderstrike units within 12. It's not even a good spell. It's just not a good hero unit. The Knight Arcanum is not great. Is it significantly cheaper than the Knight Incantor? Arcanum, the Incantor is 125, the Arcanum is 135. It's more expensive? Really? Why? Incantor, I guess it has an extra wound. Knight Incantor has cast 1, dispel 1. It gets a once per battle just auto unbind. I mean, that can be so important and so clutch to just auto unbind dispel once per game. There's certain armies where in the first turn when they're setting up and you let them go first to try and get the double around the second turn, being able to just cancel, like Lumineth Realm Lords, no -1 to hit, or no 5+ wound shrub from Teclis, or there's a ton of like really important single cast spells that you could just stop from happening in the first turn for that point. And then Spirit Storm, cast on 7, range 18, -1 from 1 charge rolls for the enemy in range until your next hero phase. That's a great spell. And consistent damage on the weapon that wounds better. Yeah, that's inexplicable. Knight Incantor is just better. To argue with me and tell me I'm wrong. Knights of Heroes, it's the regular version of Neve. Runs Shoot Still and can win Ride. It's just a less attacks version of Neve. Knight Heralder, 3+ save, 3 attacks, 3s and 3s, -1, 2 damage. I guess he's a knight that doesn't know how to fight too because he's a musician. Thunderblast, pick a train feature hole within 18 and roll a dice for each enemy unit within 3. On 2+, they take D3 mortal wounds. That can be pretty cool. The enemy has to stand pretty close to it, but I mean, there's always terrain on the table. Knight Questor, it's got his cool Warblade, 5 attacks, 3s and 3s, -1/2 damage. You're +1 to hit if you're attacking a hero. And then your Thunder Charge Strike, if the unmodified hit roll for an attack made by the Questor Warblade is 6, take 2 mortal wounds. Just a neat little fighter, still kind of classed out by everything else. And then we get Vindictors, same as in the book, or in the starter set. 2 wounds, 3+ save, bravery 7, 5-inch move. +1 attack for the champion, +1 bravery for the standard. And then you got your arsenal, which is a 6 to hit as a mortal wound, and the attack sequence ends. They are just decent in every way. Like having a 3+ save base, meaning you go to 2+ with all of your potential buffs. Having exploding mortal wounds, having a 2-inch range on your attacks, they're just a great battle line choice. They're just good. Like, I'm glad I have 20 of them painted. And they're Redeemers and Thunderstrike, so they explode better and are subject to a bunch of the Redeemer rules in the Allegiance abilities. Now compare that to Vanquishers. So here's Vanquishers. They've got Celestial Greatswords, 2 attacks, 3s and 3s, -1/1 damage, but only a 1-inch range. Prime gets +1 attack, +1 bravery from the standard. Your Musician, he's pretty cool. You're +1 to rally rolls. So if you're not in combat, which if this unit's not in combat, what's it doing? And you get the rally order, you can come back to life on a 5+ instead of a 6. That's their claim to fame. Lightning Strikes, add 1 of the attacks if there's 5 more models in the target unit. Add 2 if there's 10 or more models in the target unit. So you get better the bigger the unit you fight. I'd rather just have more units fighting because I can fight between my 40 mil bases. Yeah, they're cool models. These guys are just better. Vindictors are just better. Are they less points than Vindictors? Vindictors are 130. They're 5 points less for 5. And their battle line. Yep, the Vindictors are just better. I'm assuming this is the alt kit for the Vindictors, because you've... Oh, actually, maybe not. No, probably not, actually, because the sprue that came in the box set was multi-part already. So yeah, these are probably just the new thing. I wish they weren't classed out. So what's going to class out battle line in this book is going to be things you unlock with your Stormhouse as battle line, because you're going to skew into it. The basic battle line choices are still going to compete with each other. I don't see a reason to take Vanquishers over Vindictors. The rally unit's cool, but if you're not in melee with a melee unit, why are you rallying? And you've got the ability to do your special order to bring back unit of 5 anyway. Yeah, I don't know. That would be, the Musician would be a cool ability on a shooting unit. They're not a great ability on a fighting unit, because they have to be out of combat to use that rally order. And here, the saddest thing of all, Liberators versus Sequitors. So, Liberators, 5-inch move, 4+ armor save still, 2 wounds, bravery 7. Your Sigmarite shields give you +1 to save rolls, if at least half this unit, rounding down, has Sigmarite shields. So, you do have a 3+ save, but it's built in as a +1, which means you're never netting out a better save than 3+. Once again, shoving Vindictors into the better save territory, because they can go to a 2+ save with a bonus. Your Prime gets +1 attack. Now, the biggest benefit to the Liberator so far is they just clumped all their weapons back together. I'm a bit sad about that, because my hammers are now no better than swords. 2 attacks, 1-inch range, 3s and 4s, -1/1 damage. They get a rend, but they still don't wound great. Lalo the Tyrants has changed. At the end of the combat phase, you can pick an enemy unit that's within 1 of this unit, within 6 of an objective, and roll a dice. On a 4+, they take D3 mortal wounds. +1 to wound against 5 or more wound models was just straight better, especially with the 2-wound roll. Now, you've got a spell, Celestial Blades, that can take you back up to a 3+. Wounding on 4s, I don't know why you would ever take these now. They're just worse. They're just worse. Yeah, they're just worse than... I mean, they're better than they were slightly, but they've also gone up in points, which means you are 115 points for 5 now. I think they were down to 90 at one point. I think in this book they were 90. Let me look. So they've gone up 25 points for 5, I think. No, they were 100. I think they were down to 90 actually, just in the General's Handbook, in the point cost changes. But yeah. And here's the big reason why. Compared to Sequitors. Sequitors were better Liberators for most of 2nd edition. They still are. 4+ save, 2 wounds, bravery 7, 5-inch move. Your Sacrosanct weapons, they're the same as Heavenwrought weapons, except they wound on 3s. So 2 attacks, 3s and 3s, -1, 2 damage. Your Etheric, and then your Stormspite Great Mace is 2 attacks, 3s and 3s, -1, 2 damage. Same with the Grand weapons, they're all the same. Your paired weapons can be 3 attacks if you wanted for your Liberators. You've got your Etheric Channeling. If you pick weapons, you get exploding 6s to hit. And if you pick shields, you get a 5+ wound shrug. So a built-in 5+ wound shrug. Having a 4, so let me explain this. The math is better having a 4+ save followed by a 5+ shrug than having +1 to save rolls. So +1 to save rolls can be offset by rend. Your save can still be offset by rend when you're 4+, but you can all at defense to get the same ability as the Sigmarite shields. And then having a 5+ shrug afterwards means you just drop damage. Then Redemption Cast, slain models can't be returned to enemy units within 3 of their prime. Sure, why not? Just have zombies not come back to life, or any of the stuff that can come back to life now. Big deal. So Sequitors get more, have more, and are just better than Liberators. Are they more points? Let's have a look. Sequitors are 145, so significantly more points by 30, but just worth it in that they're better. Judicators. Now these have changed quite a bit. 5-inch move, 4+ save, 2 wounds, and bravery 7. Skyboat Bowl now is 2 shots per model, 3+3+, -1 damage. The Shockboat Bowl, the one that the Prime has, D6 attacks, 3+3+, -1 damage. So no more missing that single dice roll and then having it split. You just have it split right away, but then you roll to hit. It nets out less hits overall, but will more consistently deliver hits because you're not having to have it all ride on a single dice roll. Your Storm Gladiuses are still 3+4+, -1 damage with 1 attack. And then your Celestial Blast, if a unmodified hit roll though for a Skybolt Bowl is 6, you do a mortal wound. So slightly better because you're fishing for D6 6s now, as opposed to rolling a single dice and having it split. I like it. I mean, I liked Judicators before. They've effectively doubled their damage output. And they were 140 for 5 before. They are, Judicators, 200 points now for a battle line choice. Oh my god, that is spendy for 5 guys. But they're Redeemers. Oh no, they're not, they're Justicars. Damn it, I was really hoping they were Redeemers. You can't bring them back. Yeah, Redeemers are just the Vanquishers, the Liberators, the Vindictors, and the Sequitors. It looks like. Yeah, they're Justicars. So no Redeemers there. Your Boltstorm Crossbows, 18-inch range, 2 attacks, 3+3+, 1 damage, no rend. And then Rapid Fire, if an attack made with a Boltstorm Crossbow hits, you do 2 hits instead of 1. No trigger. So just, when you attack with it, if you hit, it turns into 2 hits. So it's 2 attacks, but it's really 4 attacks doing it on a 3+. So they just all split into 2. Thunderbolt Crossbow is 2 attacks, 3+3+, -2, 2 damage. So no mortal wounds anymore with that crossbow, but 18-inch range. Castigators, are they still hot trash? Well, they're 105 points for 3 guys. 5-inch move, 4+ save, bravery 7, 2 wounds. The Thunderhead Greatbow, 18-inch range, D3 shots, 3+3+, -1, 1 damage. As opposed to, I think they were just 1 damage before. I need to double check. Let's have a look. Yup, 1 shot, 3+3+, -1, 1 damage. So, I mean, potentially 9 shots out of them. I'd have just made them 2. You've got +1 to your attack for your Greatbow on your Prime. And then at the start of the shooting phase, you can say if you can increase your accuracy or your power. If you increase your accuracy, you hit on 2s. If you pick power until the end of the phase, you're -2 rend. So +1 to hit or -2 rend. I would take the rend all the time and just give them +1 to hit with a command point in front of shooting. And then Burst of Celestial Energy. This is if you're attacking a Malignant or a Demon, and you roll a 6, does 2 hits instead of 1. So slight increase in output for much the same thing. And then we got Vigilers. This is the new unit. If you've got a Justicar as your Knight Justicar as your or Judicator, I think, as your leader, they become battle line. 4+ save, 2 wounds, bravery 7, 6-inch move. Stormcaller Bow is 2 shots, 3+3+, -1, 1 damage. And they have a Stormblade, which is 3+. So their Stormblade is better than the Storm Gladius. It's 2 attacks, 3+3+, -1, 1 damage. They're like a mix unit between the two. They're like a better fighter and the same shooting as a Judicator unit. Navigators of the Storm. In the shooting phase, if any wounds caused by attacks made by this unit's Stormcaller bows are allocated to an enemy unit, you're +1 to hit them until the end of the turn. Sure, mark targets, why not? Now, how many points are Vigilors with their 10 shots? Vigilors are at the very end of the list. 195. So 5 points cheaper, maybe or maybe not battle line, better fighters, almost the same shooters, although no mortal wound potential. And you gain a +1 to hit out of them. Well, you know which ones they want you to buy. I love my Judicators, but at 200 points for 5, I don't know. That's way too much. Vanguard Raptors for long strike crossbows. Move 5, 4+ save, 2 wounds still. Long strike is 2 attacks, 3+2 plus -2, 2 damage, so kind of the same as before. The headshot's the same, does mortal wounds on a 6 to hit. Beacon Claws and Heavy Stock for melee. 4+3 1 damage with 2 attacks each. Vanguard Raptors, the Hurricane Crossbow is basically the same as the ones on the regular dudes, except it's 18-inch range. So the Judicators with the crossbows are basically the same with more attacks now because it's a bigger crossbow. So 4 attacks, 3s and 3s, no round 1 damage, but every hit is 2 hits. So 8 per, 24 hits potentially. Hitting on 2s, that's not bad. If you got a low armor save unit, you can do some blenderizing. And then it's Storm Strike Chariots, 12-inch move, 3+ save, 12 wounds, bravery 7. The Great Bow, it's the same as the other Great Bow, 2 attacks, 3s and 3s, -1 damage, 18-inch range. Storm Strike Axe, or a Tempestuous Spear, so you pick. The Axe is 1-inch range, 3 attacks, 3+3 -1 damage. The Spear is 2 attacks, 2-inch range, 3+3 -1, 2 damage. So better range and higher potential damage out of the Spear. I think you just take the Spear, right? Same stats to hit and wound, less dice to roll, but better rend and higher potential damage and better range. Celestial Blaze, -1 to hit rolls for attacks target this unit. They charge in the same turn. And then as you're unleashed, after this unit makes a charge move, you can pick an enemy unit within 1 inch of this range and roll a number of dice equal to the unmodified charge roll. For each 4+, do a mortal wound. So they're kind of annihilators. That's pretty great. They don't hit as hard as Annihilators in melee, but they have a shooting attack, which means they can be relevant over the course of the game. And yeah, having a 4+ wound trample is a pretty big deal. I don't know. How many points are they? Stormstrike Chariot is 165 points. That's not bad for 12 wounds and a 3+ save. Its output in attacks isn't great in melee, but you're just taking it for the charge, really. And that's less points than an Annihilator unit. So if you're going to go Stormkeep, that's not a bad idea. You got these guys who can move up 12 inches and then charge and do a bunch of mortal wounds. And for every Annihilator unit, which is 200 points, you're getting roughly, for every 3 of these units, you can take 3 units of Annihilators or 4 of these Stormtrike Chariots. Aether Wings, oh, these are an old favorite. 65 points for 3, no save, 12-inch move, wounds 2 and bravery 6. Warning Cry's gone. They're not going to get used anymore. They get Swooping Hunters, they can retreat and still charge, and Mark for Destruction, add 1 to hit rolls for attacks made by missile weapons by friendly Vanguard Raptor units to target anyone within 12 of this friendly units with this ability. So, no more block and charge with them. They were a good point filler, but those days are done. Vanguard Hunters, Bulletstorm Pistols get a rend now, 2 attacks, 4s and 4s, 12-inch range. Stormlight Weapons, 2 attacks, 3s and 3s, -1 damage. And then Astral Compass, at the start of your movement phase, you can remove these guys and place them anywhere in the battlefield, not within 9 of the enemy and within 6 of a table edge. So that got a lot better. Again, for a Stormkeep unit or army, these guys give you some ability to just leap around the board. They're kind of like super tough version of the Waypipes on Revenants in the Sylvaneth army. So that was pretty cool. And a shooting attack, so they can just teleport somewhere within 6 of the edge and then blast you with 10 shots with their Boltstorm crossbows. And there are no sledges in melee either. 2 attacks, 3s and 3s, -1 damage. They are kind of better than Liberators in every way. And how many points are they? 125 for 5, you say? Battle line in an Astral Templars army. That's not bad. They don't have the best save in the world, but being able to just bamf around the table in the start of the movement phase instead of making a normal move. So they can't be in melee when they do it, because it has to be instead of making a normal move. But you can just take off around the table. Not a Redeemer unit, though. They're an Angelos unit. Vanguard Paladors, Ride the Winds Etheric. Same thing as the other ones, just replace on the table. Same bolts to our crossbows, but they can also take the javelins. 18-inch range, 3s and 3s, -1, 2 damage. With one shot, hand axes are 3 attacks, 3s and 3s, -1, D3 damage. Razor Sharp Beak and Claws, 3 attacks, 3s and 3s, -2, 1 damage. And the javelins in melee are 1 attack, 3s and 3s, -1, 2 damage. So again, hand axes and pistols looking a little better than javelins now. Javelins have the range, but way higher potential damage for the hand axes in melee. And then you get +1 your attacks for your stuff if you're taking a prime, and they can bounce around the board, 5 wounds each, 4+ save. Not a terrible unit. Gryph-hounds, no save, 2 wounds each, bravery 6, 9-inch move, 4 attacks, 3s and 4s, 1 damage. They can fight and then retreat 6 inches with their darting attacks, and then Warning Cry now is on the Gryph-hounds. So, hey Aetherwings, you've been replaced. If an enemy reserve unit or summoned unit, core rules, is set up on the battlefield for the first time within 12 of this unit, you can pick 3 friendly Stormcast Eternal units wholly within 12 of this unit to shoot. Any shooting attacks made by Stormcast Eternal units picked with that ability must target that reserve unit or summoned unit. So you keep a couple in range, and remember, this guy, Dr. Mr. Knight Judicator, comes with 2. He makes a unit of 2. So the ones that were attached to all the other heroes don't exist anymore, but these Gryph-hounds can just cause shooting attacks to happen if someone shows up within 12 of them. So kind of neat. Don't get in the way of charges anymore or anything like that, but I mean, actually they'd be the same as they were actually. It's the same as before. I think actually they're exactly the same. They got to keep their ability, whereas the Aetherwings didn't. I think it was called Warning Bark before though, wasn't it? Where are you? Birds, Gryph-hounds. Where are Gryph-hounds? Come on, come on. It's been so long since they got used. Oh, they got used in, because it's only Stormcast Eternal units. I think they got used, it may have used to have been, no, maybe it was in first edition. It was just order units or enemy units. So the range went up by 2 inches, 12 inches now. And it's units wholly within 9 before. Now it's wholly within 12, 3 friendly units. So, not terrible. It got a little bit better. The Aetherwings, though, just lost their ability. Just sad. These guys got an improvement though. Prosecutors, Celestial Hammers, 2 shots, 9-inch range for shooting. And then paired Celestial Hammers, just get extra shot. 4s and 4s, -1, 1 damage. In melee, 2 attacks each. If they're paired, 3+3+, -1, 1 damage. And Grand Weapons, 2 attacks, 3s and 3s, -1, 1 damage. Or sorry, 2 damage. Prime gets +1 to their attacks. This is the best rule in this book. Dispersed formation. If this unit has 2 to 5 models, you're coherent if you're within 3 of one other model. If it's 5 or more models, you're coherent if you're within 3 of at least 2 or more models. Yay! Those giant wings made them impossible to actually move around the table looking good. They have a 3-inch coherency. I love that. And then you've got your Heralds of Righteousness. You can charge within 18 and roll 3d6. And Sigmarite Shields, +1 to save rolls if you have Sigmarite Shields. Stormcall Javelins, kind of the same. 3+3+, -1, 1 damage, 18-inch range. 3+ armor save on these guys though. The Trident is 2 damage, and then in melee 4+4+, -1, 1 damage, and 2 damage for the Trident. Also have the Heralds of Righteousness and the Dispersed Formation. Annihilators, basically the same as in the starter set, except now your reduction for your 4+ mortal wounds is by 1 if you have 2 models, by 2 if you have 1 model left. So you're minus to hit. I think in the starter set you only lost on the dice roll if you were down to 1 model. Everything else the same. The Grand Hammers, they lose a save but gain a damage and a rend. So 3+ armor save, but damage 3 and -2 rend with their Meteoric Grand Hammers. Everything else is the same. Blazing Impact and Forcible Falling Star. I don't know. I don't know that you, if you're playing a Shotgun army, I don't know that you even bother with the save. You just take these guys, I think. And they can be battle line now, so why not just have an entire MSU army of them with Indrasta? All right, Protectors. Yay, Paladins got 3+ armor saves. 4-inch move, 3 wounds, bravery 7. The Glaives are amazing. 5 attacks, 3s and 3s, -2, 1 damage. Shield of the Storm, +1 to saves. So they get 2+ armor saves built in, but no ability to go higher than that. Star Soul Mace, just 2+ D3 mortal wounds if you're in range. I do like me some protectors. Retributors, same as before, Blast to Ashes, Star Soul Mace, 3+ save, damage 2 with their weapons, 3 attacks each. And then Praetor, I think they gained an attack actually. No, I think they maybe always had that many attacks. For some reason I remember them only having 2, but that might just be my fuzzy memory. No, it was 3 before, yeah. Big change is the save, 3+ armor. Praetors, same as in the starter set. The Swordforged Guardians is still not a ward save, so you get on top of a ward save. Decimators, Thunder Axes, 5 attacks, 3s and 3s, -2/1 damage. Get +2 if you're outnumbered. And then Star Soul Mace is the same. Stormdrake Guard, 9 wounds instead of 12. This is the basic guy, but you get units of 2. Draconic Flame Steam is the roll a d6, 1 or 2, nothing. 3 to 4 d3 mortal wounds, 5, 6, d6, and you can have them shoot in the hero phase if you use their hero. Lances, Warblades, and Fangs and Talons are basically the same. 4 attacks, 3s and 3s, -2/2 damage for the Talons. Warblade, 6 attacks, 3s and 3s, -1/1 damage. Or if you choose the Lance, it's 3 attacks, 3s and 3s, -1/1 damage. They get Dispersed Formation, so they get 3-inch formation. Merciless Impact. Your rend on your lances is 2 instead of 1 at damage 2 if you make a charge. You get Arcane Heritage, you get Dragged into the Tempest, and you get Draconic Onslaught once per battle in your hero phase. This unit can make a normal move, roll a dice if the enemy units are within 12 of this unit after that normal move. On a 2+, this unit can immediately attempt to charge in the hero phase. Pretty cool. Dracothian Guard, Concussors, 3+ save now. You get your Storm Blast, which is the same but doesn't target all the units. It's only 1 unit on a 4+. They get Blast to Ashes, just like the other Paladins. Dracothian Guard Desolators, Storm Blast. Thunder Axe is the same. Dracothian Guard Fulminators. And I believe the Fulminator is the one you can take a single unit of in order to be able to build the hero. Where's the Fulminators? Yeah, you can take a unit of 1 Fulminator if you want, but they don't get battle line. And then your Tempestors, 3+ save. Evocators and Celestial Dragonlines didn't get the armor bonus. Oh, poor Evocators. I mean, they're still great. 4 attacks with their Stormblade and, Tempest Blade and Store Stave. 3s and 3s, -1/1 damage. Grand Stave, 3s and 3s, no rend, 2 damage. And then Monstrous Claws, 3s and 3s, -1 d3 damage. Reroll charges. They get the same lightning ability, but it's 3 dice for each model instead of 2 after they fight for mortal wound. And then they get Empower, +1 to wound rolls for the Redeemer or Sacrosanct unit within 12. And they are a wizard if it has 2 or more models. Evocators, pretty much exactly the same. Still a 4+ save. They're still wizards. They can still Empower for +1 to wound. Still get the same lightning for 2 dice each. Ballista, it has 9 wounds, 4+ save, bravery 7. It's a single model now, or it was before actually, it's still a single model. 36-inch range, 1 shot, 3+, 2+, -3 d6 damage for the charge shot, or rapid fire is now 2d6 attacks, 4+, 3+, -2/1 damage. If you're next to the Lord Ordinator, you're hitting on 2s and 3s. And then Warblades, 4 attacks, 3s and 3s, -1/1 damage. Alvarin Stormsire, he's still a wizard with his Curse Breakers that hang out with him. They're like a baby unit of Evocators. He's got a Void Storm Scroll, which is kind of cool. And then Stormsire, casts on 7, range 18. If cast, each enemy unit within range suffers a mortal wound. Each enemy within 6 takes d3, so he blows up. Seal Edge Champions, pretty much the same. They're a Redeemer unit though, so you could bring them back for free once per game if you wanted to. Far Striders, again, pretty much the same, but with a Star Falcon to do a mortal wound. And we're on the endless spells. All right, Celestian Vortex. It's kind of like a Quicksilver Sword, but doesn't ignore wards. So 12 dice, every 6 is a mortal wound. Remember, if you take a Lord Arcanum, it can move 16 inches and can fly when you set it up. Tornado of Magic, your -1 to hit rolls for missile weapons made within 6. That doesn't affect Stormcast. The Deus Arcanum, it casts on 5 and has a range of 3. Wizards with 8 or more wounds that are unique and are part of a unit of 2 or more models, or are already on a Deus Arcanum, can't cast it. If cast, set up the endless spell within range invisible and 3 inches from terrain. then place the caster on top. For rules purposes, the caster in this endless spell is treated as a single model, and the wizard gains 12-inch movement and can fly. If the caster attempts to dispel this endless spell, it's automatically dispelled. If the caster is slain, this endless spell is dispelled. If this endless spell is dispelled and the caster is not slain, reset up the caster wholly within 6 of the endless spell and more than 3 from the enemy. And then Arcane Enhancement. A wizard on the Deus Arcanum can unbind an extra spell each hero phase and subtract 1 from hit rolls for attacks that target a wizard on a Deus Arcanum. Winds of Aether. And then Everblazed Comet. So it still comes down like a ton of bricks. Cast on 6, range 36. Has to be placed within range and within not within one of all models and other endless spells. Burning Vengeance. After it's set up, roll a dice for each unit within 10. On a 1, they take a mortal wound. 2 to 5, d3, 6 d6. And then you're -1 from casting rolls for wizards within 10. But it doesn't do it every turn, so it only does it when it's set up. So it comes down once, it goes kablam, and you gotta spell it and do it again. But the enemy is still -1 to hit. And we're into pitch battle profiles. So Ballista, 140 points. You know what? I'm not gonna read these all out loud. I'm gonna look at the pitch battle profiles. Go ahead. I've talked about them all throughout here. I don't feel bad. But just going like this and saying, go ahead and look at them. That's it. All 183 pages. So what do I like? I like that they condensed stuff down a bunch. I like that they tried to make profiles compete with each other. I like that they unlocked tons of battle line choices by having the different hosts sort of unlock them. I really liked that the book is a bit flattened from the point of view of allegiance rules and hosts. There's not a ton of options right now for artifacts, for spells, for prayers, for command traits, and that makes taking those, a lot simpler. Things that this book still struggles with, there's just too many leader options. Look at this page. Leaders. There's 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 20, 22, 24, 26, 28, 30, 32, 34, 35, 36, 37, 38, 39 leaders. There's 39 leaders in this army. Oh my god, it's so many. It's just too many. Making there be 6 battle line choices and then all these additional battle line choices made it so that you could kind of base your army on everything. There are still some units that are not as good as others. The Paladins got lifted up a bit. The Evocators kind of stayed the same, but they were above the Paladins in power level already. So I feel like that's an okay choice. But the leaders just class each other out. And that's why my disappointment with the the Knight Relictor is such a big deal. Why didn't you give him a prayer? Why couldn't he cast something? Give him a prayer. Why not? Is he a priest? I don't think he's a priest. I mean, he might be a priest. Is he just a priest with a special spell? He is... Oh, no, he is a priest. Okay, so he gets a basic spell. I guess he can cast the basic prayers. He doesn't get any bonuses to it. But he's still just not as good as other things in the same class. Same goes for the poor Liberators. They're on... I mean, I guess the Storm Keep makes them a little bit better. Still, just by having the count as 3 models, they're still the cheapest option you have for battle line at 115, but Vanquishers are 125. They're just better with their melee weapons. Sequitors are way more points, but having a ward on a unit is a huge deal, and they're Redeemers, so you can bring them back. I don't know. There's a lot of competition between the various Knights and Lords and special characters, and I don't know that they won't class each other out. So while I think some of the classing each other out for better choices was removed by there being different ways you can build this army, like building an all dragon army or building an all cavalry army or building an all, whatever, and there's no battle line tax as long as you take the right Stormhouse, is really cool. The different knights, like the Vexillor Knight and the Arcanum and the Knight Incantor. I think the best example is the Knight Incantor versus the Knight Arcanum. The Incantor is just better. I don't see any reason to ever take the Knight Arcanum, and their point values are the Knight Arcanum is 155, then the Knight Incantor, the Knight Arcanum is 135, the Knight Incantor is 125. She's even cheaper. It's a bit weird. Same with the Knight Venator versus the Knight of Zeros. His shooting isn't good enough to make him compete with the Knight of Zeros. And their stat lines, or their costs again, the Azeros is 120, and then the Knight Venator is 175. 175 for the Star-Fated Arrow, basically. And the Knight of Zeros is going to have way more utility, and you just make them invisible, not within 9. So I think there's still some like some like bloat issues just with the number of miniatures there are now. I don't know actually how they deal with that. It's less of a criticism, I think, inherent to the book than inherent to maybe you could have flattened the design by saying you make your own knights. Like, did they all need to have their own Warscroll? Could there have just been a knight class or a, you know, here's the Arcanum class, here's the Questor class, and then you use the miniature you like? You can still have the miniatures be valid without having to have all these Warscrolls, I feel like, because they do kind of class each other out. But yeah, we'll see how that goes in the future, because I'm not really sure how you solve the problem of having released 39 character miniatures now, and you still want them to all kind of be interesting. So overall, I'm really happy with this book because I think it made for a lot of interesting list building with just the sheer amount of battle line choices you have now. And a lot of interesting battle line choices like the knights, the mounted dragons, the fact that paladins can all be battle line now too. I do think you're going to see a lot of skews get played in the competitive meta, like the All Annihilator skew is going to be a big deal. Storm keeps with the whatchamacallit, the paladins being battle line, and then taking the chariots to do impact hits and stuff. The Everybody's Comet being 100 points, it doesn't need to be anymore. It's not that great. DS Arcanum's still fantastic for 55 points. I think you'll still see a lot of DS Arcanums, and I've ordered the set of these just to like paint up and have, because being able to dispel an extra spell defensively is actually a huge deal, and it's actually hard to spend the last tier points. Everything went up in point value for the most part, though, which I think is appropriate because everything kind of went up in attacks and damage and consistency as well. And my current list, I was holding off painting Judicators because I had this like gap in my army list, and now that gap is shrunk by a bunch of points. It's shrunk by 35 points. So where before my Judicators for 140 points were going to be the thing that slotted in at the end, well, if I take the right Warhost, I don't need any more battle line choices anymore. I could slot in something else. I don't know, maybe Castigators for 105 points. It won't be Judicators though, because they're 200. So we'll see. I definitely am excited to play a game with this upcoming week. I'm pumped to try the new Stormcast. I think they've got some interesting choices now, and that to me makes a good Battletome when I can think about a variety of different lists I could write and not just one list. So big thanks for watching. We'll see you for more GMG reviews in the future, and big thanks for Workshop sending the book along for us to check out. Thanks, Mash. Hey there, I hope you enjoyed that video. There are tons of other games already recorded for you to watch. Click over to my channel page if you haven't already, and have a look to the dozens of playlists full of videos. I guarantee you'll discover a game you haven't seen played before. I put out new videos 7 days a week, and every day is themed to a different genre as I continue to explore the wider world of gaming. Of course, none of that's possible without you, the viewer, so click a like and subscribe if you'd like to stay on top of what's happening here daily. My 2 kids and I are massively grateful to be able to have the flexibility of this job so I can always maximize my time with them. If you want to support me continuing to put out this content, it's only possible because of my amazing backers on Patreon who support the studio, equipment, and model cost, as well as being how I make the bulk of my living. You can also help out by buying a t-shirt through Spreadshirt, a measuring gauge or widget from Death Ray Designs, or buying one of my games and supplements like Last Days, Gamma Wolves, and Blaster. As a way of showing my appreciation, patrons get early access to new games and supplements that I write throughout the course of the year. Huge thanks for watching, it really does help out, and happy gaming.